95% of what we do in our success is mindset. And all our limiting beliefs, most of what we're doing is the result of our subconscious thinking.
Welcome to Women Thrive podcast. This is where you'll get to hear incredible stories of female entrepreneurs, business owners, women from all walks of life. Myself, Raymond Jan, and my co-host Abigail will be interviewing incredible women, hearing inspiring stories of women from all around the world. I have no doubt that you will find something that will be life-changing for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us for our future episodes.
Hello and welcome to the Women Thrive podcast. My name is Ramonda Jan and I will be your host for today's show. My lovely guest is Karen Sarmento, and we're talking about finally hearing the whispers of your life's true desires. And I can't wait to delve into the subject. Karen, welcome to our podcast show. How are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you, Ramonda. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled. Today's conversation, I think, is so relevant and important to many women who might have achieved it all in life, but feeling like there is still more to go, but they can't really quite put it down to what it is that they're looking for. So my guest today is Karen Sarmento, who's a light-hearted and fun mentor for high-achieving and successful women who are looking to redefine the meaning of success. She loves to support women who have ticked all the boxes in life, and yeah, they feel trapped inside living according to other people's expectations. She helps her clients go from feeling empty and unfulfilled to feeling confident, inspired, and ready to pursue their life's mission. Also, as a host of Meant for More podcast, she empowers women to listen to their inner voice and overcome their inner self-critic that often hold them back from creating the most powerful life. As a certified mindset mentor, she uses her own unique methodology that incorporates subconscious mind programming and powerful manifestation tools to help women bring their most desired life into fruition. Karen, lovely to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
I'm excited for this conversation. So, Karen, tell me a little bit more about the women that you support and why this is so important.
So I work with women who are hard working, high achieving, and by societal norms, successful. And as you said, they've checked all the boxes. So life should be great and they should be happy. And for whatever reason, they're just not happy on the inside. So I work with women to help them redefine what success actually means to them. And all too often, it's focused around this expectations by society of what it means to be successful. And as a woman, I feel like oftentimes it's kind of a self-imposed boundary that we place upon ourselves.
I feel like you're quite right there because when you look at around, there's expectations of you should be a mother, you should be educated, or you should be pursuing the career of everybody else's definition of success. And so we go and chase all of those supposedly our dreams, but really we're just trying to tick boxes and please other people sometimes, right? And try to feel good enough inside.
That's it exactly. I'll get another degree, I'll get another certification, and then I'll be validated. Let me go do this. It's always about the external achievements because that's what looks right. And that's what's giving us that validation. It's coming from outside circumstances when really it's all within us already. And we don't even need all that. And there's nothing wrong with all the successful boxes being checked and having degrees and having a meaningful career, but it's noticing what makes you actually happy.
What does make Karen happy today?
I'm proud of my career and I enjoy my work, but as a nurse practitioner, but what I really felt on the inside was like I had a greater purpose. And I was always afraid to pursue that because the limiting beliefs creep in. Who am I to do something outside of what's expected of me? So a lot of times we play small. what has really made me happy is listening to my inner voice and listening to it when it tells me that I might have a greater purpose or have a bigger mission in life, and actually taking action toward that. And when I started to actually do that, that's when I felt lit up. That's when I felt like I was making a difference. And that's when I felt like I'm showing up as a powerful version of myself, for not only for myself, but for my son and just to life in general. Because
Mm.
we feel like we do all those things, but when we're empty on the inside, we may not realize it, but we're not showing up powerfully to the people that matter.
And also making true impact. Like I know from my own life experiences, as soon as I started to truly get aligned to what it is that I want, what makes my life meaningful, and I stopped pursuing everybody else's definitions of success, this is when everything changed. It was like a big turning point in my career that I was living for me, but also ultimately supporting those around me because I was living my purpose.
I love that. I love that you used the word alignment, because it's so important to be true to yourself when you're pursuing that mission. Sometimes the inner thoughts don't match what we're actually doing. And that just creates chaos in the mind. And then it creates disorder. And then we're not on a trajectory of change in our lives. So we just keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result over and over again. And then what you just mentioned, that contribution, that's really at the kind of the core of what has lit me up, is feeling like I'm making a difference. Even
Mm,
when it's just one person, or then it's the ripple effect of what it means to contribute.
yeah. So now you use various powerful techniques in supporting your clients, and you went through your own journey really to discover your inner kind of discovery, inner growth. Tell me a little bit more about your journey as you went on to discover what really lights you up in life.
Absolutely. So I was initially that person that had checked all the boxes. I had the career, the family, the home. I had what looked like from the outside, I had it all. And by all rights, should have been perfectly happy. But I think we get stuck in the hamster wheel of just going through the motions. But I got a wake up call at one point in my life when my husband passed away very unexpectedly in an accident. And that really, it was like it pulled the rug out from under me, and everything kind of fell apart. But at that point, it allowed me to put the pieces all back together and really show up as a powerful version of myself. After doing some of the inner work, I realized that answering the call to the that little whisper was important. And what mattered to me changed at that point, and how I showed up changed at that point.
Mm. Do you feel like you really had to almost redefine yourself and redefine what you wanted out of life? Because I know, let's say, when you build life, especially with a partner, and there is separation or loss, it almost rips you off your identity and your plans, what you thought you had, and suddenly you don't have it anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Redefining what you say. You mentioned the word identity, and I love that, because that's exactly, that was my identity, was in that, my role in the family there, and my job and being a mom. And it was very black and white, what my roles were, what the expectations were. So when that happens, yes, your whole identity is shattered. So it really was an opportunity, not by choice, but it was an opportunity to relook at myself and kind of rebuild. And I rebuilt myself differently.
You say, what did you do? What were the things that you said, okay, that's the way I want to rebuild my life? Or how did you go about kind of finding your own purpose, really?
Definitely with mentorship, I had hired a coach to help me navigate the process. And that really held me accountable when I made the decision that something needed to change. I made a committed decision to do that, but didn't necessarily know the steps originally. And there are steps to take. So I hired a coach and I was accountable. I was accountable for where I was at that stage in my life. And I was also committed to where I was going and taking action on where I wanted to go was so powerful. And it really just fueled me every step of the way.
Do you feel like you had a vision or that vision evolved as you went on that journey?
It definitely evolved and it started out a little bit small because it was like, well, I don't know, how could I do that? But it very quickly got bigger. My vision very quickly got really big to the point it was things like I couldn't imagine how I could possibly do that, but I'm going to. And the steps got delivered to me along the way. And I think the most important piece was knowing I was meant for more, believing that, and then listening to the little inner whisper because it'll let you know what the next steps are. And if you're paying attention, you'll hear it. And can't emphasize this enough, but taking action, even if it's small steps towards a bigger vision, but trusting yourself, trusting that you're limitless for sure, and trusting that you're capable of anything.
Yeah. I always say you can't go on adventure if you're going to be in the park mode. So you're not going anywhere.
Right. Right.
So I feel like you have to get out the door. You have to, and just what you were saying, that you really have to take those steps, and the next step is going to be revealed, and you will figure it out. It's all part of process of growth. What were some of the perhaps more limiting beliefs that was holding you back, and you feel that your clients also struggle with now, of just even imagining what else is there for them, or how can they go about pursuing it if they feel a bit stuck and feel like not 100% happy where I am today?
Yeah. I think many women have, whether it's a past that has held them back or just low confidence, low self-image, low self-worth. I think women get stuck in that place and it's like a thermostat. Say we'll use our self-image for example, but our self-image is like a thermostat. You can't outperform it. So it's set in a certain place, which is like the self-imposed boundary. So you don't typically do less than that, but you don't typically do more. So limited self-image, limited results. And I think when women start to work on that, it really changes what they start to attract, what they start to do. So I think one of the biggest challenges is recognizing the limiting beliefs, catching them, and creating new neural pathways that actually allow for change. And it's a
Mm.
process.
And what do you help women do specifically?
I help women first to really tune into themselves, to be aware. Often we're not even aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it. We don't question anything we think or do. And we really have to be aware of what are we thinking? What are we saying to ourselves? What are we thinking when we look in the mirror? And really telling a different story and putting things on paper. What do I want? How do I want to show up? What are my goals? Writing goals on paper and then determining who do I need to be to achieve that goal? How does she show up? How does she walk, talk, dress? How does she handle conflict? How does she walk in a room? Put it all on paper and then start showing up as her. You can really shock your system and just start doing things differently.
I find that a lot of women who are in a positions of leadership don't call themselves as leaders, because maybe they imagine that a leader should be someone else, but not them, right? But yeah, people are looking up to them and they are inspirational, they are powerful, they are influential, yet they don't define themselves as leaders. And that's really interesting when it comes to that self image, right? The way we see ourselves. And I find that it happens quite a lot with women.
I love that you said that. It is very interesting. You probably have seen this, but I've seen women or I've worked with women who I see them so differently than they see themselves. I
Mm.
see like this powerful, confident, successful woman, but yet they see themselves as like, who, me? Like they just feel small.
Yeah. And it's like deflecting who they truly are. I think maybe not even believing. And I know even for me, there was a moment in time where the self-image that I had, even though I wanted to be successful and I was ambitious, but almost what I achieved have not caught caught up with my mind yet. And I'm like, am I really that person that imposter syndrome creeps in? So I actually had to do inner work on that to be able to step into that version. I think it's so powerful to step into that version, but sometimes we can't do it on our own.
Yes, I agree. We just can't quite see ourselves in that bigger light. It's
Mm.
simple as accepting a compliment, or we feel the need to make ourselves small or dim our light or don't shine too bright because people will think you're obnoxious. So therefore we don't.
Yeah, I think it's really exercise, almost exercising that muscle and putting yourself out in environments and situations where you are testing your limits, you are challenging yourself, whether let's say you want to be a speaker and you put yourself out on a stage, because speaking tends to be one of the scariest things that you could do. And you may not even see yourself as a speaker, but hear someone ask you, hey, can you deliver this workshop or just talk? And all of a sudden you have to put yourself on that stage. And I feel like that's whatever that situation is, just stretching your limits and just showing yourself that, oh my God, I can do so much more than I thought. I may have never identified myself as a speaker or a leader or a coach. And here you are doing all these amazing things.
Right. So, yes, doing the thing that is scary, that gives you so much power when you take a step that was uncomfortable. And change is uncomfortable. So, it is somewhat of an uncomfortable process of unbecoming what you've become over the course of a lifetime. So, embracing that change and the fact that it is a little bit scary.
So, what's the power of subconscious mind programming that we've talked about earlier? Or I mentioned it in your bio that you work with some of the tools for subconscious mind. What's the role of it?
Yeah. So the subconscious mind, 95% of what we do in our success is mindset. And all our limiting beliefs, most of what we're doing is the result of our subconscious thinking. So we don't even realize why we're doing some of the things we're doing and what's the whole basis for it. And oftentimes it doesn't even make sense if we really start to question our limiting beliefs. They've been ingrained in us over the course of a lifetime through first through our families and friends, society, our jobs. So we've created a really hardcore set of beliefs that we've now framed our life around. And oftentimes it doesn't make sense. So starting to question those because you can change all of that. The power of the subconscious mind is just truly limitless. And it takes some time. Those beliefs were cultivated over the course of a lifetime, but it can absolutely be changed.
I think that's where the work really comes in. Whilst we were conditioned a certain way and the environment that we maybe grew up in or lived our entire lives, this is where challenging ourselves and saying, you know what, there's more to life. And I see perhaps other people doing better, and maybe that's triggering you. Or, why can't I do that? That's where that growth happens when you start to challenge yourself and your beliefs, especially beliefs about ourselves.
Oh, yes. And when you start to question it, so when you really develop that awareness where you start questioning your thoughts and behaviors, it can almost be humorous because you're like, well, why am I doing it that way? And well, that's how we always did it.
Mm.
But why? Why did we always do it that way? It doesn't really make sense. And when you start to question certain things, it's very enlightening
Yeah.
because it oftentimes doesn't make sense and you can change the way you do things. You got to just disrupt those neural pathways and start doing things differently.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just like disrupting that pattern and doing
Mhm.
something different. That's just so powerful. So you also implement manifestation tools, and I'm quite curious about that.
So it's actually really fun because with manifestation, it isn't about just stating affirmations and just repeating things over and over again or writing things down over and over again. There has to be an emotional component to it, and you have got to be emotionally involved with what you're saying, what you're writing. And what's really important is acting as if before you have the actual thing that you want. So, one of the important pieces of manifestation is showing up as the version of yourself with the goal achieved, because you start to show up in a different way, which then causes you to attract different things to you, different people, different experiences, different opportunities. And it also puts you in more of an abundance mindset versus a lack mindset. Because if you're in this lack mindset, showing up small, you attract lack, small, you attract more of the same. But when you
Mm.
start showing up differently, you attract different in your outside world. And I think that's the piece sometimes that's missing when we think of manifestation. So, well, how am I going to do that? I don't have it yet. But you just have to embrace it and really start to have fun with it and show up differently.
Hmm. Oh my God, you said so many things there, and like you almost have to. So I'm gonna say you gotta see it to believe it, but I don't mean see it in the physical world. You gotta see in your mind's eye, and I love that you said really stepping into that version of you because that's part of the limiting beliefs and the subconscious mindset and rewiring your programming in order to be able to step into that version of you. Because if you're not even aware that there might be another version of you, or there might be a different life on the other side of it, well, you can't really put yourself energetically there if you haven't done that work first.
Absolutely. Yet you're not even capable of going there because you don't know what it looks like. You've never been there. And yeah, that's huge.
That's the role of mentors. My mentor used to say, there's places that you can't go on your own. You need other people to help you get there. And I think that's the role of mentorship and working with other people who are able to see your potential or help you build the most amazing life and the vision that could be this whole new life that you weren't even aware is there for you.
It truly is. And they can help you kind of avoid some of the pitfalls and bumps along the way.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a little story where we lived and we bought a house maybe 18 years ago now. We built that house or rebuilt it and we lived there forever for a long time, 18 years. One day, my sister decided that we moved out, myself and my mom, we moved out. But she decided one day to rent that house out and go and rent herself a new place that was in line with a new vision of who she saw herself to be.
Yeah.
So she moved into this beautiful six-bedroom house, everything that she wanted, newly built. And at first, it was a challenging belief because, like, why would you move out of your own home that you've built, that you've created? But the truth is, living in that house was no longer the definition of who she was becoming on the inside. Even though she built it, she loved it, it's beautiful. She just needed to be in a new environment that matched who she saw herself to be. And it was so interesting, like to challenge that belief that she had to live in this house and be in that same environment when she's grown. And after she made a move and she was really happy in this new home, I was like, good on you. I was like, you know what?
Mhm.
You saw that in your mind's eye of how you want to feel in this house, the spaciousness, the luxury, all the things that you want to feel. That house was not going to provide it no matter what you're going to do it. It was just not that house anymore. And I was like, that's a perfect example of like building something that is great. It ticks all the boxes. You bought it, you worked for it, but it's just not the life that fits your vision. It's not the life that you want to live anymore. And so she made a move, and I was like, I'm so proud of her.
That is such a great story. I love it. And she made a move. That's just it. That's great.
And now she's like, that house is really representing where she is on the inside, and she's able to now be almost congruent with the life that she built because it wasn't matching.
Mhm.
Even like on the outside, it wasn't matching the who she has built herself to be. So that was really interesting.
I love that. And it's so important to honor who we are on the inside because
Mhm.
when we're thinking one thing or we want one thing, but then we don't act accordingly, it doesn't feel good because the thoughts and the actions are not congruent. So you end up just creating more of the same.
Mm. Let's talk about something here.
Yeah.
So when we surround ourselves with people who may have known us a whole lifetime, and they, like, I'm sure you know this, Karen, like, working in nursing industry, maybe you have colleagues who know you only as that, and now you stepped into a whole new version of you. You have a different career. You're a speaker, you're a podcaster, right? You're a coach. And you probably see yourself completely different to the way some other people are seeing you. How to kind of navigate that when on the inside you've grown past that and you're starting to make those life shifts, but then there are people who are still expecting you to be a certain way, and that's where that people pleaser and living up to people's expectations kind of still keeps pulling us back.
It's such a great topic. It makes me laugh too because you see it, yep, in the workplace and also usually in your family because they expect you to show up one way, and the next thing you know, you're doing a podcast and like, what? What are you doing now? And it's challenging.
Mm.
And it was a conscious effort. Like when I would show up to work, like, all right, if I want to be a coach and I have to show up in this arena confidently and
Mm.
not like my old self because there was a transformation that had taken place. But it's very easy when you put yourself back in those circles to fall right back into who you're expected to be in that circle. So showing up differently is, it can be a challenge, but
Mm.
I always said to just to have fun with it and be aware that, okay, this is a challenge, but I'm showing up as myself, the version who I am and who I'm meant to be. And people are receptive to it. People overall want to see you grow and are open to it. I think we hold ourselves back more than anything.
Yeah, that's true. The inner dialogue, I think if you're gonna step into that new version of yourself, you also have to be, as you mentioned earlier, be aware of the inner monologue that's happening. And it has to be like an overall transformation, whether it's your
Mhm.
environment, your mindset, your behaviors, your beliefs, the way you see yourself. And eventually it starts to happen. And people around you starts to accept the new version of you.
Absolutely. And being aware of it so you can actually, maybe you have to gear yourself up before you walk into an event. Because I'm walking in today as the greatest version of myself, not the person that would have showed up 5 or 10 years ago. And maybe you have to practice doing that in those settings, but to do it, show up as if. And eventually that becomes your new normal. That
Yeah.
becomes who you are and how you show up.
Yeah. Eventually people will just start to see you as that. So you gotta work on it.
Yeah.
But and I want to say this to our audience. if you want that life and is a life truly worth living, you got to go for it. And I feel like you've got to know that transformation needs to happen and the work needs to happen, because we may wish and dream for a different life and for people to accept us differently or see us differently. The work starts within, and you said it right at the beginning that everything is within you, but you have to get it out of you. You have to realize it, and you have to make that dream come true for yourself.
Absolutely. So well said. So well said. Because it is a little bit of work. It's effort. It's consistency. It's starts with a decision. I'm going to do things differently. I want differently, and I'm going to make a change.
Amazing. Karen, how do people get in touch with you if they feel inspired by today's conversation?
Oh, so probably the best place is my website, karensarmento.com. And of course, I'm on Facebook. You can easily message me there or find me there. And I have a Facebook group, Sarmento Mentoring Services, which is a nice community of just women, supportive. I'm kind of always going live in there to provide information and different concepts. So that's another good place.
Amazing. So make sure you go to karensarmento.com and Sarmento Mentoring Services Facebook group, correct?
Yes.
Amazing. My memory still serves me right. Well, to all of our listeners, thank you so much for tapping in today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope this is going to bring you transformation, bring you closer to the vision that you have for yourself. And don't be afraid to step into that new version of you, because that version, I promise you, is going to be absolutely amazing. Go get her. So, Karen, any last parting thoughts before we close out for today's episode?
Oh, I'm so thankful to have been here, and just that it all starts on the inside. You have the potential within you, and change is possible. Just have to make the decision and listen to that inner voice, because if you're feeling like you're meant for more, the message is meant for you, and you are.
Amazing. Karen, this has been a pleasure. I hope this episode supports our listeners today. Of course, I just want to just quickly let our audience know that you are also going to be a speaker at the Women Thrive Summit in March, which I'm super thrilled about. What is your talk going to be about?
My talk is about embracing your inner voice and really encouraging women to listen to that voice and take action on creating the life of their dreams, and that it's possible.
I love that. Beautiful. Well, Karen, this has been amazing. And to all of our listeners, don't forget to share this episode, because you never know who might need to hear this message today. Thank you all for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in another episode. Take care for now. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Women Thrive podcast. If you found today's episode empowering and inspiring, be sure to subscribe and follow us. Better yet, leave a review and share it with others. We're committed to bringing you more stories that will empower and inspire you on your own journey. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep pursuing your dreams.